Hello, how are we doing? I'm Andy Malfrina. This is Drag the Lake DTL R&R, where we do our reaction reviews. If you want the main podcast, which it actually is premiering today, I'm gonna upload this probably right before it actually premieres. So if you like this video and you want to watch a full long form podcast of me and my bro Pat talking about music and stuff like this, go over there. We talk about Gouge at the Olympics and Kubla Khan, people trying to cancel Kubla Khan. But today, right here, right now, we're talking about Gouge Away and their new song, No Reason, which actually this dropped 2 hours ago. I'm going to be in under the wire. One of the first 300 to watch the video. I'm honored. Gouge Away is one of those bands that, I got to be honest, sitting here right now thinking about it, I can't think of a song of theirs, but I know I've listened to them before and I know I like them. Because I saw the band name and I went, ooh, Gouge Away is a new song. And then I was like, wait a minute, do I like them? I'm like, well, I must have. I had that initial hit of just natural excitement. So yeah, they're one of the bands that I know I've fucked with before, but they haven't fully gotten into my psyche that they're in the regular rotation. But regardless, this is a quick one. It's only a minute 51 seconds long. This song literally dropped on, like I said, on YouTube 2 hours ago. It's from their album Deep Sage. So let us check it out. Hell yeah. There we go. Gouge Away. What was the name of the song again? No Release. Yeah, I like them. It's funny. The thing that popped out about them was the reason, or wait, how am I presenting this information not sounding like a fucking weirdo? No, I'm sorry. It's still early in the morning. Maybe I should have waited till I woke up more to record this. I'm still waking up. I apologize. No, I'm thinking about the hat I'm wearing for this band Capra, and I was just like, oh shit, I'm watching this while I'm wearing my Capra hat because these guys have a similar vibe to Capra, and it's not just the female singer. It is also they're sort of they have a sound where you'd probably consider them more, or I don't know if you'd consider them like a hardcore band, but you could see them on a hardcore show and it not feel out of place. Now, Capra's a band I would more consider a hardcore band. These guys are much more punk rock, and they have that like for me, and I'm not super familiar with this type of genre, but from what I've from my music listening over the years, this kind of comes off as more of an artsy indie punk sort of vibe, but then mix that with there's nothing overt about it that you could go like, oh yeah, they're like a hardcore band because they also have breakdowns, but it's like the aggressiveness that they approach it. They're a band that would work very well on a hardcore bill. It's the similar as like System of a Down. No one would really call them nu metal, but everyone who likes nu metal likes them. And if you had them headline a nu metal fest, which I believe they did with Sick New World, that just feels right. I'm actually not 100% sure if that even happened, but that feels right. I feel like System of a Down headline Sick New World, and you'd call them more of a metal band than a nu metal band, but they work with a lot of the nu metal shit, you know? I think they had the similar vibe because they came out in the same time as a lot of the nu metal bands, but they're really I would call them more of a metal band than nu metal. But anyway, Gouge Away sort of has that vibe for me with hardcore, which I like. I like, sort of, because hardcore is an easy genre to replicate. They have the standards. I talk about them all the time. You have your fast circle pit part, your slowed down two-step part, and then your even more slowed down breakdowns. And you can just do a big variation of those, do some mosh call-outs, and you can have... And this isn't going to be the best hardcore band. It's a little bit of a paint-by-numbers formula, but you can have... that's an easy way to quick boom, bing, bang, boom, here's your hardcore band. So to have a band that you would associate with hardcore but not hit any of these things... I like. It's similar to a band I'm going to record a video for and post tomorrow. We all probably, if you're watching this channel, I'm sure you know them, Touche Amore. They're another band. Like, they just came out at the end of, they were the surprise guest at Sound and Fury, I believe, this year. And, Touche Amore actually, it's good I'm listening to them today because they sit in a similar pocket to Gouge Away, where they do have this, like, it's almost like the intent you would have of a more indie rock artsy band, but with more punk rock / hardcore execution. And I think that's really the essence of why this stuff is fun. Because I know for me, I always surprise my wife because she thinks, she sees the main way. Like, I'm a comedian, so I like comedy and stuff like that a lot. But then occasionally she'll see me either get into like rom-coms. I love a good rom-com. I love a good rom-com. I really do. Or, more weird artsy-fartsy shit. And it's like, no, it's like I have my standard things I go to a lot of time because I don't necessarily mesh well with... I could watch most rom-coms. I've realized this recently. I'm a sucker for rom-coms. But when it comes to artsy-fartsy shit, a lot of the stuff I don't mesh well with, but there's certain pockets where if it's done right, it really fucking gets me going. So whenever I see this stuff that sort of has a more, just like art, I don't know what the term would be. Yeah, just artsy, I guess, would be a proper term for it. With a much more artsy intent, a much more like deeper intent. When you're listening to something. And you can just tell there's a lot more there's a lot more subtext going on over here. It's like if you listen to the Ramones, the Ramones are pretty base level with a lot of their lyrics, where it's like, I just want to sniff some glue. That song's about wanting to sniff glue. It's pretty straightforward, but then if you listen to some other shit from other bands like this, it just feels like it's got a little bit of a deeper thing. The other thing I like, first off, I say this all the time, definitely need more, there's plenty, but can always use more lady singers in hardcore and hardcore adjacent genres like this, where, especially like heavy genres, because I've been noticing recently, when I say recently, it's probably over the past 2 or 3 years, I've become more aware. I've always enjoyed ladies fronting these heavier bands. Like, I remember I used to listen to I Wrestled a Bear once a bunch back in the day, and there was this lesser known band. They were kind of emo. It was that time period where emo bands would throw in sort of a half-ass breakdown here and there. So they'd be like, it'd be an emo band where they would do chuggas for 5 seconds, but for all intents and purposes, they're an emo band. And then they would do like some screamo shit over it. It was called Flee the Scene. And then there was like 1 or 2 other ones, but it's really in recent memory that probably, like I said, in the past 3-4 years, I've become much more, much bigger of a fan of female fronted, heavy bands and heavy adjacent bands. So I like seeing that with Gouge Away. And then also the thing in the songwriting process, the thing that kind of stuck out is Because as I was listening to this, I realized I remembered their other song we talked about on a video I posted a really long time ago. Maybe on the other channel, maybe on the main channel. I can't remember exactly when, but because I think we watched them, and I remember Pat was getting annoyed by it. But a lot of times when I start, and I got where he was coming from. Pat's the guy I do the podcast with, if you're new. I get where he was coming from, because sometimes with like the repetition of something, you're like, okay, fine, we hear what you said, say a new fucking thing. But then, there's sometimes where you see bands do stuff like, I forget, there's a documentary we talked about this forever ago on the podcast. And it was about, I want to say it was this record label in Seattle that kept doing all this like artsy shit. It was like a lot of this like super duper artsy indie rock, but there's two types of artsy indie rock where it's very in-depth and thought out. And then there's another type of artsy, just art in general. There's a sect of art in general where it's like, I'm just going to do stuff that looks exciting, or I'm just going to do shit in general, and I'm going to see how people respond to it. Like, all right, sorry, hard edit. I just had to answer a phone call. That was important. I forget exactly what I was saying, but it was something about art with intent, where there'd be the bands I was talking about at that record label. They would just kind of like do a whole bunch of shit and then kind of just like see what happens. Oh, that's right. I was saying it wasn't like noise rock per se, but it was like the same way you see like a noise rock band make their music. It was sort of like the music was sort of made in a similar way, where they would just like do a bunch of shit. It was like heavy avant-garde. And to me, that's not like, I mean, if you like it, you like it. I can't tell you don't like it. But to me, that like artsy shit that's not real art to me. Because real art to me should have intent, whether it be overt or sort of a reaction. But if you're just putting a bunch of shit out there and going like, well, what is this? It's like, well, no, that's not. Like, I think a lot of times when you watch art, you're supposed to sort of extrapolate your own experience from it, but the artist too should have a goal, or how do I say this? Like, the person making the art, they should have a clear thing in their head of what it is. And that could be a little bit more abstract, but it could literally be like, I was feeling this way this day, and I tried to make something, but it comes out unclear, and I'm still trying to figure it out, blah, blah, blah. But like, there's another version of it, like I was saying before, where it's just like, you just throw a bunch of paint on the fucking canvas and go like, I don't know, something just happened. That's annoying to me. I don't want, because then it feels like you're wasting my time. It's like you're telling me to figure it out. And it's really like, if it's just a random, if it's just something that was produced out of complete randomness, that's not like, I don't know. I don't give a fuck about that. I don't know if I was about to say that's not art. I'd have to think about that more. And I don't have the time because I have to go do stuff in a second. But I'd have to think about it more. But yeah, that's just not, to me, that's not good art. I like the intent. And then going back to why I brought up with Gouge Away, when we listened to the last songs of theirs, there was like a repetition. But the way that Gouge Away sort of executes the things they do, it felt like there was much more, like rather than some bands who are just like, I'm just going to do this for a while and like test the audience's resolve. I was almost like looking at Gouge Away like, now it feels like they're doing this with much more intent. So when you can sense that a band's doing something with much more intent, you sort of look at it and go like, okay, what are they trying to tell me? I may not be getting this right now, and I may not love, I know for me sometimes I don't. There's like certain genres where they embrace this like repetition of the rhythm or the song or whatever the fuck, and I don't necessarily fuck with that. But at the same time, if they're playing music that sounds good and then they're also embracing this repetition, maybe I take 5 seconds to kind of like sit there and go like, what are they trying to do right now? Because if this repetition is necessary, rather than sort of like, now there is other repetition where you sort of play the same thing over to sort of get in this like trance or whatever the fuck, which I believe can kind of happen if you're intently trying to vibe out. Maybe not intently trying to vibe out, but if you're trying to like let the music take over, sit in that pocket really get into that repetition and shit like that. That's one thing. But then how Gouge is doing it with the lyrics on the song we listened to before, I forget what the song was called, and then this song too, with like the repetition of the lyrics, you're looking at that going like, okay, they're doing that for some reason. And yeah, I think it's something cool that is on the surface looks lazy, but after you actually think about it, it turns into it can turn into a bigger meaning on the whole, and that's pretty cool. And I've been rambling for a while, so let's wrap this video up. Gouge Away, no release, very good time. Everyone go check it out. If this is on go check out their album, whatever the fuck it was called. Deep Sage. I'm gonna go check it out because I don't think I listened to it yet. All right. Have a good one, guys. Be about it. Peace.